Nottingham-based heavy rock crew Sleep In Motion are due to release their debut album Existential on November 10th. Today, Click Roll Boom catches up with Ryan from the band to find out more about the album and what the future holds. So could you tell me a bit about the band's history, how you met, how you formed, how it all came to be?
So me and Alex were in a band before. We spent like a few years playing together, and that's how we kind of got to know each other. And Alex was in a band with Lewis at the same time. And they kind of like play reggae stuff, which they still do. And then we left the other band, me and Alex, with the original bass player from our band, and we all kind of did it together.
Mhm.
And then he left, and then we were kind of like looking for somebody who was a bass player, and Lewis like was really up for playing. So yeah, and that's just kind of how it happened, really. With like the group as it is now, it was just one of them things. Like Lewis was there, and he was great. He was a perfect fit, and it just worked really well. So.
So are you all still in other bands as well, or is this your main band?
So this is our like kind of main band, but then Lewis and Alex still like do their like in reggae stuff as well, and I'll do like occasional like solo gigs and stuff.
Okay, cool.
So yeah.
So your sound is quite diverse. So listening through, some of it's really kind of raucous and attitudey and a little bit Nirvana-y, but then you've got a lot of stuff that's quite tender and whimsical and
Yeah.
sort of a lot more vulnerable. How would you describe your sound and what other bands have influenced it?
It's always a tough question, isn't it? When it's like how would you describe it? But I think I try not to stick to one genre really. I don't like kind of if I'm making something as like kind of like with the album, if it's something like an entity, I'd rather take little bits from everywhere and
Yeah.
rather it just be like so straight metal all the way through or straight, I don't know, classic rock, whatever kind of like genre you want to describe it as. I'd rather have all the little bits and pieces. Like
Yeah.
we have like some of the songs on the album are very much kind of like even like Creed, like Alter Bridge kind of style, and then like we've got ones that are like quite heavy. Like there's a track on there called "The March" on the album, and that's like probably the heaviest song like I've really ever written,
Okay.
and that's very like kind of like Metallica, Pantera kind of esque. So it's
Yeah.
like I think I just took inspiration from all different kind of avenues
Yeah.
on the album for sure through writing.
Because in the EP, I got the one of the tracks. I got a lot of Beatles kind of connotations coming through.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah.
cool. I don't really listen to the Beatles at all.
Oh, okay.
Really, never like. Well, I like them, but like I never listen to them. Don't choose to listen to them.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. To be fair.
So what's your writing process? How do you go about composing a song?
Usually the kind of way I'll get like kind of just something. If I'm like normally it's like out walking the dogs or something like that. I'll just get something. So I'll like normally just like kind of hum it into my phone. I've got like so many like 10-second, 20-second clips like of just like humming and this, that, and the other. So then I'll just come home, like play the guitar part to it and stuff. But it's just kind of differently. Like sometimes we'll write together, like, or I'll write on my own. So yeah, we used to, like I was talking about the March, like me and Lewis like really went into that one and kind of just tried to do things that we wouldn't necessarily do and just like really play about with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just I wouldn't say there's one kind of direct way that I actually do write it.
Yeah.
It can kind of be like I'll get a guitar riff first, or sometimes it's the lyrics that are first. So yeah, it's just kind of I don't know. It's difficult to put your finger on really.
When you write together, is there a lot of creative differences, or do you kind of get along?
No, not really. I mean, like most of the songs that I'll kind of like bring to them, and then I'll just kind of go like, you guys just do whatever on it, and it just kind of
Yeah.
it just works. Like it
Yeah.
works great. Like Alex, I mean, like the great thing about technology now is I'll sit and kind of like if it's a song that I've come up with, I'll kind of program the drums in, like play the bass, play the guitar, and then send it over as like a demo.
Yeah.
And then Alex, I'll just take the drums out, give it to Alex, and he'll kind of like do his thing over it. And then like we'll go into the studio when he's ready, and it's kind of works like that. So yeah, it's really cool.
How do you think your style has evolved since you formed?
Massively, really, because we kind of started and we were like really wanting to kind of like write grunge music. So that's like the first EP was like really like pretty like grungy
Yeah.
influenced. And then because that was kind of written when it was me, Alex, and John. And then the second EP was like pretty much a majority written by us three then. And we had like the studio already booked to record the second EP when Lewis joined. So those songs were kind of already written. But with the album now, it's definitely a lot heavier. We've moved away from the grunge side of stuff. I don't know whether that's kind of like, just coming out as a grunge band and then straight away changing on the first album. But I just want to make music that I want to make and the guys want to make. So that's what's important for sure.
Do you plan on sticking sort of how the album is for like future projects, or are you always thinking of ways to evolve and change and refresh?
Yeah, I've already started writing for the next one. There's already a few things that are there. There's a few demos like floating about that probably they might not even see the light of day. I don't know, but yeah, I think it's important to evolve. If you're going to do the same thing all the time, well, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. You get so many fans that do the same thing, and they get, oh, it's just the same album as the last one, or like my favorite band, Avenged Sevenfold, like they just released Life Is But a Dream, and that's like an incredible piece of music, like and as a thing, and they got slated for that because it's so different, and so you can't win. But I think it like they say, and I stand by that, is that as long as you're doing it for yourself, like. And that's the most important thing.
I think it's interesting because some bands it works. They can stay with that same formula their entire careers. Like Feeder springs to mind. They've never really sort of gone away from it. Other bands change their style just to sell records, and some bands go too far from their original style to be the same band. I think you have to be very careful because there is such a fine line.
Yeah, it's true. Like, yeah, when you say when Feeder, like that's a really good example. I mean, like because in the old band we played on the same day as Feeder, and we got to like watch them from the side of stage, and they're like really nice guys. And it's funny that because they were talking about that, and like they were like about the new albums and etc. And they said, I can't remember what they said on stage, but they said it was nice to see that like the fans of the old still like the new, and I think that's like really important. But then at that festival as well, there's a lot of young, quite a young audience that were like really into them. So I think like that for them as well was great because it's nice to see that they get the different generations. So yeah, it's cool.
So you're about to put out your debut album, Existential. Can you tell me the story behind it? Any concepts? Any themes?
Yeah, it's like the whole album lyrically is kind of like about my feelings towards like the anxiety of like death and that kind of experience. And I think like when you get, I don't know whether it's just me, when I've got to like kind of like 26, 27, I've kind of like, you lose that kind of like childhood bit, and you kind of realize like things every day, you start taking things less for granted. And I just kind of like, it was really difficult for me to process the kind of like my own kind of mortality, like of there is an end to you of what you know. And it's just a really kind of like at first it's a very upsetting kind of thing, and it's very finite, like you realize that nothing's forever and etc. So this kind of album is kind of me processing that information from like track 1 to track 10. It's all very much kind of like situations that I've been in. Yeah, just kind of like strong feelings towards things, really. And when the album was kind of done, it felt great because I didn't feel like there was anything more that I needed to kind of say. And I think it did really help me kind of writing and creating this album to kind of get over and help myself through that. So yeah, it worked a treat.
So are the songs like standalone, or is it a narrative that we should play like from 1 to 10 in order?
No, I think it's kind of, it's a little bit of both. For me, the way that we've written, like the way that the album plays through, there is kind of, I wouldn't say a story, but there is like an underlining narrative from track 1 to track 10. So I think on a first listen, like I'd recommend if you like it. But I recommend listening to it from number 1 to 10.
I think that's the thing that's been lost since we've had sort of Spotify and that kind of thing. They're listening to an album from the start to the finish, and kind of in the way that the artist has obviously thought about laying it out on the record.
Yeah, and that's in this day and age as well. I don't think I've been reading a lot about what artists have been doing, and more artists are not releasing albums anymore. They're just releasing singles every kind of 2 months, and I think that seems like it's becoming, when in a world where it's so hard to actually keep somebody's attention, to remember that there is an album coming out at the end of this kind of single promotion. I think it's really important that artists have to be like on it, and it's like, right, there's a single and it's out tomorrow. Like, you know, it's like it's trying to keep people's attention over, like, I mean, announcing an album in, say, March and releasing it in July, that's like 4 months, and people have just forgot. Like, there's something else that's come out on Spotify. Whereas if you announce something and then 2 days later it's out, or 7 days later it's out, I think there's more of like, oh, I need to listen to that now. And I think people are realizing that. I'm definitely realizing that. I mean, I can't say that we'd ever do another album again. I think the way that the world's going, which is a shame, because it's nice to have albums and physical albums to actually hold. But yeah, I think with the way of the world and the kind of in demand and on streaming platforms, I think the way to go is just singles. And
definitely. But I think you have to be careful with singles, with how often you're putting them out, because there's certain bands that come into us and they're putting a single out every month or every 3 weeks. And I think sometimes you're compromising on quality to just try and get yourself out there. I think you're better to release one really good single that you've really worked hard on every 3 months than releasing over and over.
Yeah, that's it for us. Like, we with the Terminal video that we did, like, we're really happy and proud of that video, and we spent a long time like making sure that it was something that was going to be stand out, that it was, we wanted to be able to look back on that in 5 years and think, yeah, it's great. We didn't want to rush something, like, and I think that's important, is the legacy of what you leave.
Absolutely.
I guess. And like, I'd rather release something and be happy with that, and it stay there kind of for 2 years, than like as like on its own as an album, than kind of like rushing singles out and like bang, for sure.
So let's talk about your live performances. Do you have any sort of particular rituals before you go on, or do you ever suffer from stage fright, that kind of thing?
I wouldn't say rituals. It's normally trying to find Alex. That's usually the ritual. Like, it'll just be somewhere, and it's like, we need to go on. It's like, well, me and Lewis are kind of always ready and just waiting for him to stop faffing around. That usually is the ritual, to be fair. Every gig. And I don't think any of us get stage fright or anything like that. We just love to be there. Like, we love to do it. It's cool.
Have you played much?
Yeah, we played quite a bit. We're looking busy, obviously, towards the end of the year. We've got like a mini tour kind of booked, like 7-8 dates, just to like promote the album around the UK. And then we're booking for next year at the minute, some shows. So yeah, there's some hopefully exciting things coming up as well for next year. So it should be a good year.
Do you mainly play around like where you live, or do you kind of venture out?
No, we go all over. So I live in Devon now. And the other guys live in Nottingham, because that's where I used to live. So I always travel up to them. And use Nottingham as a base, really, for us. So yeah, we do a lot of traveling. I mean, the tour is Nottingham, Newcastle, York, Manchester, Bidford, Torquay, then Leicester as well. So yeah, it's kind of like a good all around. And then next year we're going into London, and
so you need to come down south.
yeah, we're gonna do London, Cambridge. Where else have we got? We've got North. Is it? No, it's not Norwich. It's Northwick or something. Northwick or something. That's like near Manchester way again.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, we're looking at like Scotland at the minute. So yeah, we're trying to like kind of within a year kind of cover everywhere.
There's loads of venues in Norwich if you want to come here.
In Norwich.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was looking at that, and that definitely needs to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really we're quite good for live music at the minute. We're quite a vibrant scene for a small city. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I'll have to we'll have to talk about it and get some venues. So
Yeah,
I can have a look,
definitely.
for sure.
So which band would you most like to tour with?
At the minute, I'd love to support Full in Reverse because I'm really enjoying what Ronnie's kind of doing and Ronnie's putting out. Even though he is quite a controversial character at the minute, definitely. But yeah, I really enjoy them.
Yeah.
Avenged Sevenfold just because it's my favorite. But I don't really know. I'd quite happily kind of tour with everyone. I also like the kind of anxiety of maybe not being a band that should open up for a band.
Okay.
But you know, like if you can see and if you can win people over, I'm more interested in that kind of side of stuff. As if like, you know, if we were to open up to somebody who's not necessarily in our scene, it's like, oh, okay, so are we going to be absolutely like destroyed? Yeah, I like that. It's a nice
Sometimes it
feeling.
works really well. I've been to gigs where there's been sort of 3 bands and they've all been very different. Sometimes it works really, really well. Other times you can just see the room clear in
Yeah,
between each band.
yeah. That's it. I mean, we've done like quite a few. Our old band was in like the folk scene,
Okay.
and so it was like, well, it was like kind of like folk rock. I
Yeah.
don't know. So yeah, we done quite a few festivals like in the folk scene, and yeah, it's just kind of like you get like some people that like quite like are into it, you know, but it is quite heavy, especially the new album stuff we've been playing. So and then you just see like at the back like it's like, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's cool. Like I don't get bothered by that because people like what they like.
Oh yeah. I suppose if you've got a room full of people and you can convert 2.
Yeah, exactly.
And listen to your music, you've
And
achieved.
that's 2 people, and
Exactly.
you know, it's I'm more than happy just to play live. To be honest, it's great. So,
are you thinking of doing any festivals next year?
we are applying. You know, we're trying to do as many as possible. So we'll see. Hopefully, we get some good stuff back. Should be cool.
So, what advice would you give to someone starting out in the music industry?
Don't believe every word that people say to you.
Oh, right.
Because you just get so many people who will come up to you and then it's like, oh, I know such and such, so I'll pass this on, and you'll hear absolutely fuck all. That's my biggest advice. Just don't, you know, just be nice, be present, and enjoy what's going on around you. Don't take anything for granted. Be thankful. And just be happy, and don't treat people like shit. Basically, that's my best advice because it will always come back and bite you in the arse.
Definitely.
You know, everybody in the venues that you're going to be playing, like they're there to do a job, and you know, at the end of the day, they're trying to do it, and they're under pressure sometimes. So just because they don't get back to you straight away, it doesn't mean you should call them and shower them and just be a dick in general. So yeah, I've seen that happen too many times, to be fair. So
it's not right. It's not fair.
No, it's not good.
Venues.
Not nice at all. And just the way that you speak to people around you, like the way that you speak to like your own kind of staff that you hire as well within a band. Like if you get to a level where you can go on a bus and do that, like the way that you speak to like people speak to like sound engineers, etc. It's just shit. So yeah.
I suppose the other thing when starting out is to not expect it all in a minute.
Oh no, definitely. No, I think like I think you're very lucky if you can make money off a tour. Like you know, so I wouldn't even just enjoy it. Like that's all I can say. If you're coming into this for money, it's the wrong industry.
Definitely.
100%.
And lastly, what does the future of Sleep In Motion look like? I
hope pretty bright. I mean, we feel really good about it so far. We're really happy with the album. It's the anxiety of like waiting to see what people think of it now. I mean, what is it when today? I think it's something like 48 days, 10 hours, 4 seconds. Not bad time. It's like 50-ish days away. So we're kind of like, is it going to go well? Like we're happy, but we're really happy. We were nervous when the Terminal came out because we were like, oh, people are going to like enjoy it. It is different to like the last stuff we released. But thank you. And yeah, we're just really happy with how that came out and looking forward to everybody hearing the rest of it. So
brilliant. Well, thank you ever so much for speaking to me.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, cheers.
Sorry to wake you up.
That's all right. Thanks, bye.
Cool. Thank you.
Bye.
See you later. Bye bye.